it's hard to judge on 10-day contracts whether he still has it because he's not getting the opportunity. It's not like a team is like, okay, Isaiah, go out there and play 35 minutes for us. Okay. He's getting stretches. I mean, I saw him in a hot, with the stretches with the Lakers where he hit some shots, but he wasn't hitting shots, really like at the clip he did before. Okay. So if Isaiah stops being a shot maker, then his effectiveness goes way down on the court because it's not like he's going to stop anybody defensively. So he's got to hit shots. So hopefully he'll get an opportunity to be that guy who can come off the bench and light it up a little bit. Hopefully he's still up to that because I just think that's what we're talking about right now. Like the days of Isaiah doing this and all that probably aren't going to happen. He's 33 now, and in basketball years, that's not young. For some people, it's young. For some ball players, 33 is their prime. For LeBron, that wasn't no problem, but for some guys, that's, nearing the end. That's the back nine. So I hope that he can, because we all love Isaiah. He was a great guy to cover. His stint in Boston was amazing. I don't blame Danny Ainge for trading him because no one knew that Kyrie was going to blow the spot up. No one knew what was going to happen with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving in 2017 was a completely different figure than he was in 2022. Like he was just, he wants his own team. He started playing in LeBron's shadow, so on and so forth. That's understandable, right? But he's the guy that hit the biggest shot and the biggest, moment in Cleveland sports history in terms of winning that championship in 2016. So people really didn't know what was going to happen with Kyrie when he got to Boston. It ended up not going well, obviously. So it's easy to play, Monday morning quarterback when it comes to that trade. It wasn't, for them to dump him when he was at his lowest point. He was hurt. His sister passed away in that tragic car accident. All of what he gave to the organization. Do I think could Brad have signed him to a 10-day? Yes. I understand the perception of, well, if it doesn't work out, then you're releasing him again. You look worse. I could see that. However, the Celtics had hung on to some people that, they hung on to Shimmy. I like Shimmy. They hung on to Carson Edwards. They hung on to Taco and Tremont. Like and there's 2 ways and not 10 days, but they hung on. Like the Heat have Udonis Haslem. Are they is Udonis scoring for them? Is Udonis rebounding for them?
Never, yeah.
Is Udonis doing anything besides the leadership?
Yeah.
Now, will Isaiah complain that he wants to play? Maybe, because Isaiah likes to talk. And I think sometimes his social media activity and some of the comments over the years have gotten him in trouble because he keeps it real. He's honest.
Yeah.
Which is great for us as journalists. It's great for us. But I also think that sometimes you got to learn, like, I'm not going to say nothing. Mm-hmm. Because the perception is he's going to be like, if I was out there, we all know what would happen there. It would be this, and I just think the Celtics management is just sometimes too damn stringent, too conservative. Take a damn chance, sign somebody who isn't, who might not work out because you done held on to some of these dudes too damn long. Carson, Shimmy, I love Taco. Tremont Waters, like you didn't held on to these cats. You signed Ennis Freedom. You signed. It's like, come on now. I mean, you can't give Isaiah a 10-day and get him an honest look and be like, listen, if it doesn't work out, I don't think Celtic fans, if he goes 2 for 20 from the field, right, and he doesn't cut it, I don't think Isaiah fans will be like, oh, you're screwing him over. No, they'll be like, it didn't work, but we love to see him back. It was good. Now, it's just, I just don't like, I think he made a point. I think it was his comments were sad. Yeah. It was revealing that Brad, he's like, damn, Brad, really? But they signed in Keelan Pitts and that brother ain't played. They signed Al Farouk Aminu. They signed
they just got Nick Stauskas.
Yeah. They signed,
who's out of the league.
They signed Norvell Pelly. Mm-hmm. They signed, what's the dude who didn't play, Joe Johnson, and they signed CJ Miles, like
everybody.
Really, yeah. I'm sure Isaiah. I'm talking really. I'm sure Isaiah's like, hold up, mm-hmm. like I think he's got a point there because they didn't sign some dude just to fill some spots. They signed these 2 cats to 10 days or whatever that ain't gonna play. Okay, and then Ime doing the whole we don't have a need a point guard. You don't have a need a point guard. You don't have a backup to Marcus, man. Like, don't tell me, oh, you thought all along Peyton was that guy. You didn't because you traded Dennis Schroeder. Okay, so who's your backup? Peyton? The guy you didn't play for the first half of the year? Oh, that we had no issues. We knew. Like, stop that. You didn't have confidence in Peyton. So don't act like point guard wasn't an issue. It was. And Isaiah, true point. So you can play him at the 2. So that whole thing, well, we didn't ever needed a point guard. Yes, you did. They probably need another point guard right now. You trust Peyton as and I like Peyton. He's hitting shots, but do you trust him for the rest of the season through the playoffs as being a primary backup point guard? Or could they use another ball hand? Could they use a DJ Augustine? Could they use that? Someone like that. Somebody just, hey, control the offense. Okay, this play we're going to run. Jason, you set the play. Like that type of commanding floor presence. Could they? Yes. So the whole we don't need a point guard when you just traded your backup point guard. Come on, man. Like, I get it. You don't want to bring him back. He doesn't defend. Okay. Isaiah defended back then. Isaiah was a great he's a stopper back then. Like, Isaiah was Gary Payton 5 years ago? No. You don't sign him for his defense. You sign him to his shots, to give your organization a boost, and honestly, you owe him one. You dealt him when he played on a bad hip for 3 months. And so I'm not saying if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If he's 2 for 30 from the field, Isaiah, it was nice. But the Heat, that's the difference. The Heat, why they bring back Haslam back? It ain't the play. You got roster spots open. You done wasted roster spots over the years because you were afraid to admit that you messed up in the draft. Mm-hmm. They held on to Romeo and they traded Romeo away. Oh, Romeo's a prospect till we find the right deal for his ass. Like, to me, I understand the reasoning, but it's that conservative Celtic thing that you want that type of culture where people feel like they can come back to the organization and be welcomed, and they can be they're a Celtic for life, and you give him a shot. Not saying sign him for the year. I'm not saying sign him for a 2-year deal, but you just signed Nick Stauskas for 2 years off the street. Like, Isaiah is like, hold up. Like, I think he's got an argument. Yes. Like, I do think it's kind of messed up. Yes. It's the business of the league. It's a big boy league, big girl league. So you grow up and you wipe the tears off your face and keep it moving. But I do think Isaiah had a point. I do think the Celtics could have did him solid, took a look at him.
Yeah.
If it didn't work, I thought they should have kept Joe Johnson, for my opinion.
I did too.
Like a 40-year-old dude he couldn't help your young guys, but you got Bruno Fernando? Like, what are we doing? Like, come on. If you're going to use your roster spots and you're going to make it a prospect, okay, a guy's like, no, we ain't letting that dude going to be some, or, if you, use it on Sam Hauser. You think Sam Hauser can be a shooter? No problem. He probably can. He's got that potential to grow into a shooter for next year. But you had Bruno Fernando, Enes Kanter, you was wasting roster spots. You had Romeo chilling. Like, to me, you could, and then I said, Alfred Camino, CJ Miles, Norvell Pelly, the 2 guys now, they signed Justin Jackson. Like, hey, come on. I just like, man, I can't get a 10-day because I'm afraid that Celtic faithful that the Isaiah contingent is going to have a problem if you let him go.
See,
like, no. That's like, deal with that if that's what happens.
You know what? I think the bigger concern about bringing him back wasn't so much that he didn't have anything left in the tank, but what if he does? What does that mean to your team dynamics going forward? What does that mean to Peyton Pritchard, who at that point, if he comes in, he's balling out. Bye-bye, Peyton. because they really don't have value for it at that point. And if for some reason he's pretty good but not great, what is that going to do to Peyton's development? What is that going to do to the Tatum Brown dynamic? Because remember, you bringing a guy back who obviously has been out of the game for more than a hot minute, but this is a guy that was a top 5 finisher in the league MVP race. This is a guy who has played at the highest of levels in the most critical games with the kind of emotional baggage that most guys would keep their ass home, let alone show up in the gym, let alone show up in the gym and show out on the court like he did. Bringing a guy that has all that in him, it forces you to potentially reevaluate how you do everything. If you don't want to have that issue, if you don't want to have that potential, what do? Exactly what they did. Nothing. And you try to explain it away, but the more you talk about it, the less sense you make while you're talking about it. It does zero harm to bring in a guy who has given more to this organization than any individual player in the last 10 years. When you talk about the things he played through, the level in which he played at, it doesn't make any sense other than the fact that this might be a guy that could potentially change the trajectory of a lot of players that you already invested heavily in, and you don't want to deal with that. And listen, no shade at Brad Stevens for doing that, because Gary, to the point that you made, Gary, about how they have a tendency to hold on to guys longer, I don't think that's a problem for Brad Stevens. In fact, I think that's a Danny Ainge issue, because Brad, in the short time he's been GM, what did he do? Got rid of Kemba, got rid of Romeo. He got rid of a lot of the guys that we're kind of shaking our head with. I'm not really sure that guy should be in the mix. And Brad's like, I am. He's gone. Bye-bye.
It also brought back some players that when they were let go or like were allowed to leave, like Al Horford, have come back and have still been productive. So I think to your point about Isaiah Thomas, it could have still been the same.
And that's why Isaiah is probably even more pissed, because Al basically said, keep y'all money. I'm going to go get money elsewhere. Peace. Right. And Daniel Tice was just like stone cold chill, like, what? I'm traded? What? Oh, damn. Okay.
That's the thing.
Wow. And Isaiah's just like, damn.
I just think,
what does the 5'9" brother got to do to get back on the team?
What he got to do?
He understands the polarizing figure. Yeah. I mean,
that's his strength. That's his superpower, not a weakness.
My Twitter reaction yesterday was, people, it's over. He's done. That's messed up, Celtics. You ain't treating him right. It's either or, right? But I do think that the organization does owe him a solid. He literally risked his career. He took a bullet, as I asked him the other day, for all the players who were criticized for playing hurt, not playing hurt. The Kawhis and the Damian Lillards, all these guys. Oh, you could get out there and play hurt, man. You ain't like 70s, 80s. Magic was playing with, no. I cost myself $50, $60, $70 million playing on a bad hip for your organization, taking y'all to the Eastern Conference Finals. And y'all can't sign me to attend. Y'all can't take a look at me. And I think he's a big boy to know if it didn't work out twice with the Lakers, it didn't work. I think he's used to that now. But damn, I mean, you can't give him a look.
This is the one organization that, of all the teams he's been around,
he
was pretty confident they would give him a look.
I mean, damn, come on now. The Lakers brought back the White. They re-signed Avery Brett. If you can get rid of a guy, you can bring him back. Like, this is the league. Ain't nobody going to be, burning down Causeway Street if he's terrible and he doesn't renew his 10-day. It wouldn't look good for a couple of days, but it's like, well.
Even Lance Stevenson got back in the game.
Yeah, he didn't get it done. Okay. Like, he got a shot. It didn't work out. I think he's a big boy. He understands his game. So I do think that he has a gripe there. It'd be different if the Celtics roster is stacked. They got all these guys. Like, no, they don't. They carrying 2 10-day bros. Like, really,
I think he'd be the first to admit that it is a business. But to your point, he rightfully has a stripe. Yeah.
Where's Bruno Fernando now?
We don't talk about Bruno.
Where's Ennis? Like, you were carrying guys.
Criticizing the
Where's Carson Edwards?
Yeah.
Where's Carson? Like, You're carrying guys. Where's Tremont? Like you were carrying guys over the years that aren't NBA caliber players, and you holding on to them cats. Like, to me, don't tell me Isaiah done forgot all how to score. Don't tell me he scored 47-5 in the damn G League, 41 points.
I was about to say, yeah.
Learn how to shoot.
He still played basketball. Come on.
Let's be honest. The Celtics think Nick Scouses ain't forgot how to shoot. He scored 57. And they signed him to a 2-year deal, non-guaranteed next year. But his agent, there's 5 teams. There was 5 teams after that dude. So where are we at here? What do we do? Like, to me, I just think he's got a gripe. And I think people, you talk too much. Just let it go, Isaiah. Move on. Okay, great. But look at what he sacrificed. Do y'all remember?
He put his heart on the line and body on the line for that.
The back up the Brinks truck was funny because he wanted to be maxed, and he had that chip on his shoulder. I
still make that joke. I'm not even going to hold you, but he knew his worth in that moment, and even though that didn't translate into him having the long-lasting career that he wanted, in the moment when you look at what he brought to the team, he was that valuable in that moment. And I know with the NBA context, that's not how it works.
If Karl Anthony Towns doesn't land on his hip on a drive, he gets maxed.
Mm-hmm. And I think, Isaiah at that point, Gary, we've talked about having like a sucker list. Isaiah Thomas, I think, had a I'm better than that MF list. And when he was coming up on free agency, he's like, he got that much, I bust him and his team. He getting this much? Yup, I took them to school too. That dude, yup, he got the homeschool treatment because I went in his crib and dropped 35 on him in front of his daddy and his mama. And he's thinking
he can score.
I'm good.
He just forgot how to score. Like, he just forgot. Like, he lost a step. Isaiah's game was never based on mad quickness. It was craftiness more than quickness. Not to say he was slow. He was not slow, believe me. But it was craftiness. Mm-hmm. When you're 5'9", it's like and you've been playing. I know about Isaiah Thomas. I worked at the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, and I'm going to give my man a shout-out. This guy named Mike McLaughlin, who covered preps, was like, Gary, there is a dude who is at Curtis High School in Tacoma, Washington, named Isaiah Thomas, who is literally 15 years old, who is killing the state tournament.
Wow.
Right? He was in 11th grade, and he was 5'5", right? And he was killing it. So I've known Isaiah since then. Then he committed to Washington. So I've been following Isaiah since he's 15 years old. You're small and you know how to play against bigger players your whole life. You know how to get into the paint, to score. All of them. Remember they were switching. Washington was switching Markieff Morris onto him, and he scored on Markieff, like 6'11" Markieff. He was embarrassing him. Like, don't tell me he didn't forget all that. He hasn't. I'm not saying he's an all-star. I'm not saying he hasn't lost step. He's 33. But don't tell me that some of these dudes on the end of these benches or the Celtics, the guys that Celtics have brought in over the last couple of years are better fit. And if this dude can be a leader, he says he can be a mentor. We saw him the other night against Brooklyn. He's all the dudes on Charlotte, because Charlotte is slumping. Okay, we can talk about how they've the biggest underachieving team all year. The Celtics were in front of that line.
They're behind the Lakers.
Yeah, in front of that line, exactly, till about 2 months ago, and now it's Charlotte and the Lakers. And there's Isaiah standing on the bench doing that. Like, he's playing the role he's supposed to play. I mean, if he could do that, can you imagine him at the Garden telling people to get up with a towel? Like, yeah, get up. Like,
exactly.
We've been getting up and like, come on.
Look. Like, they have a media section to
do that. If he's like, listen, if he's playing 10 minutes a game or here playing here and playing there, not like, I don't think he's going to be like, man, I need to play 40 minutes a game or I'm out of here. What are your options, Isaiah? Like, back to Tacoma to work out. Like, he understands that. He's humble.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that he should have been humble, but I just think the whole, like, well, we don't want the backlash and the pressure from the fans how to play you. Like, no, your organization, you're the 17 championships. Deal with that pressure. Mm-hmm. You ain't Minnesota, Charlotte, or freaking Memphis.
Sacramento?
Yeah.
Deal with that. Like, come on, Brad and Danny, step up to that. Danny knows that wasn't, you trade a dude that's damaged goods that need, like, and I'm not saying that Danny, hey, everybody thought you bring Kyrie, you got a chance to get one of the most dynamic point guards of his generation, which Kyrie is. Saw him the other night score 50. Kyrie still got game. You could talk all about his off the court stuff, his crazy, his eccentric, the scoring girlfriend, all that. The bro got game. He just does, right?
Yeah.
So no one argued the trade, but Danny's got to shake the feel a little bit. Like, man, I didn't do my man quite right with that, And to me, I just think you could, if you want to, you could do it. And I think that the Isaiah faithful would understand if he was not good and you moved on from him. They would.